What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another show. If you're looking to scale your business, working with buyers, doing buyer consultations and buyer webinars, this is the podcast for you. Today's guest is going to show us how she's doing 50 properties, 50 sales per year. And this year, she's about to hit 25 million in sales, all from sitting at her home, doing buyer webinars and buyer consultations, having a team, having systems. And today you can learn how to do it too. So stick around. You don't want to miss it. Let's get started right now.
Welcome, and thank you for tuning into Amate with Hans, Real Estate Podcast, the place where real estate agents come to get tips, tricks, advice, and strategies from top industry leaders from around the globe. Sit back and hope you enjoy the show.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Mate with Hans Real Estate Podcast. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Hans Waisfeld, real estate agent in Miami with Keller. And today's agent is 30 under 30, and I'm so excited to have her. She is out of Boston, and she has been killing it with buyers and doing webinars online, and her business has been taking off. So I'm super excited to meet and get a lot of information and help you guys understand how you can grow your business with webinars and pretty much doing buyer consultations, everything online from your office. So everyone, welcome to the show, Kimberlee Meserve. Kimberlee, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So let's get right into it, Kimberlee. I mean, I understand that you are somewhat new to the Boston area. Is that right?
Yeah, so I moved here in August of 2018. I have a little bit of like a interesting story of how I ended up here, basically as an expansion partner for a team that it didn't end up working out. And so the 2019 was my first full year in the Boston market.
Wow. So what, year and a half, less than 2 years you've been there?
Yeah, well, I just hit my 2-year anniversary in August.
That is amazing. So 2 years, so pretty much a whole new area, right? And you're doing how much right now? How much are you at right now in 2020?
So this year I'm at 20 million closed and pending. So I think I'll finish the year at about 25 million.
That is amazing. I mean, I'm so excited to get into how agents, wow. So less than 2 years and you're at those numbers. So that is amazing, Kimberlee. So, all right, so let's get right into it. So, it's a new area. How did you even come across the idea of, hey, let me start doing webinars. Let me start going that path. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so it actually didn't start as the webinars. It's kind of just, we've had to force our way in that direction because of COVID. But when I bought my first house, there were so many things that my agent didn't explain to me about the process. And right. I went into wanting to create these first-time homebuyer events with the mindset of like, okay, so I'm living in this market now where prices seem very unattainable. If you just look at like the list price, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, $500,000 for a condo, like I can't do that. But when you break it down to the monthly mortgage payment, you realize that a lot of times you're paying the same or less than what you're paying in rent, because we're also the third most expensive rental market in the entire country. So I went into it with the mindset of like, geez, like I wish there were so many things that someone had told me along the way when I bought my first house. And like, fortunately that didn't stop me from going through the process. But I wanted to take the experiences that I had and just turn it into an educational event for buyers to feel like they have the information. They now feel like it's something that they can accomplish and achieve. And so we started doing first-time buyer seminars at a local brewery. It was like we had good turnout in the beginning, but it wasn't what I would call like an instant hit or what it is today. Right. And a lot of people seem to think that I have like the magic toolkit for how to have a successful seminar. But the reality is that I've just done over 100 of them at this point. Like we did them in 2018, we did them every single month. And like my second seminar, had I not had a fantastic coach, I would have given up because I had 4 people come to that event. And I would have considered that a total flop except my coach was like, you need to look at your numbers. You need to be measuring things, tracking things. And every single person that came to that event ended up becoming my client. So that's a total win. But I think a lot of people try one or two and they get discouraged that they don't get anything right away, or they don't have this huge, massive turnout, and they just give up. And so the process for me over time has just been a journey of mastery. Like, I committed to it being my one thing, and I just decided, like, this is all I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to focus on making it really great. And it's evolved over time.
Wow, that is awesome. That goes to show you, like, I'm a true believer in everything in real estate works. Everything and anything works. You just got to be consistent. You just got to do it. And that goes to show you, I mean, shit, you're like, let me go sit at a bar and help people that are somewhat interested in buying. Like, let me show them that it's not as complicated, or it's not as, like, the numbers actually make sense. You know, like, let me help these people. They need to know. So you kind of went with the idea, and look at now, you know, almost 25 million. I mean, it's crazy. That is awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. Everything and anything works. And I think that's the beautiful thing of this industry, but it also is the demise of a lot of people's success. And that's something, like, whenever people ask me, what is advice that you would give to a new agent? That is something I wish someone told me when I first got in the business, because I was 24 years old and I didn't have a sphere of influence that was buying. So the first few years for me was like, I'm going to try to prospect FSBOs. I'm going to call expireds. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I was trying so many different things because I was seeing other people have success with it. And the problem was that I was trying so many different things. Like, I really should have just picked one thing that I really enjoyed doing and focused on getting really great at that.
That is so true. That's definitely, and I'm sure every single agent in the beginning, you know, falls, you know, in that category where it's like, you know, especially when they're in the bigger companies where, you know, we get trained so much on, you know, cold calling and expires and door knocking and this, and so much different, you know, ways and so much directions that you can go in real estate. But definitely, you know, I always tell people, like, stick with one or two at most and just go with those two, master those two, right? And look at you. So, but let me ask you, how did you end up even thinking about the not the webinars, but at least the buyer presentation, like at the brewery? Was it because you went through a bad experience and you're like, you know what, I'm an agent now, like, I gotta show people? Or was it your coach? How did you even end up thinking about, like, shit, let me go to a brewery and let me start doing this?
Well, it actually didn't start at a brewery. The first few events I did at my office, and that it was more of, I was on a team, and I was a buyer's agent on a team at the time. Now I'm not on that team, and I have my own team, but we were given leads that were pay-per-click leads, and everybody was kind of competing for this pool of leads. And it didn't feel great to me the way that we had our policy set up. Like, if a lead came in at 9 o'clock at night, there was this one particular agent. She's a fantastic agent. She's a very successful business now, but she literally would call people at 9:30 at night. And that was not the life I wanted. Like, I did not want to be having to check my phone aggressively, waiting for that next lead to come in and, like, have to jump on it the second it comes in. And so we had this, like, pond of leads that we were all fishing out of. And I just, like, one day was like, I'm so sick of this. Like, I want to be doing business on my terms. I'm sick of these leads that I have to call the second they come in, because otherwise you can't get a hold of them.
Right.
What else can I do? And that was a moment of reflection where I was like, where could I have these events that people would actually want to show up on a weekend, even if it's nice? And so I thought about, like, okay, who's the target market here? And the brewery thing just kind of seemed like a natural fit.
That is awesome. That is amazing. I love it. I mean, what a better place, brewery. Like, especially people have a beer too. They relax, they listen, everybody enjoys. I mean, so before the COVID started, how long or how many times did you do it? Was it months, 1 year?
Yeah, so we did them every single month in 2018, and in 2019 we did like 1 to 2 a month. So I think we probably ended up doing about 20 or so in 2018, and now we do them 2 to 3 times a month. So March was the first virtual one that we had to do, and it was not really by choice. We were just forced into that because I have basically, like, I've tracked my numbers so well and I've measured everything in my business that I've been able to just reverse engineer my goal. It's like, okay, how many houses do I want to sell this year? And my goal this year was 50, and I'm going to do 50 because I knew how many people would attend each event, what was my average conversion, and then calculating some fallout, I just figured out how many events that I need to have each year to hit my goal. I couldn't stop doing the events because there would go my whole business plan for the year. So we just had to pivot and have them virtually, and it's so far, it's been great.
That is amazing. It's crazy, especially like, you know, you talk about 50, 25 million, like I'm listening to you and, you know, most people talk about just getting listings, right? Like listings is the name of the game, list to last, listing. I personally love working with buyers. I just turned 30 and a lot of my friends and clients are all first time buyers. So it's like the closest thing that I have to me. And I actually do enjoy it a lot. I love sharing knowledge and being able to help them because I know, I'm 30 and I know in 20, 30 years from now, with all my friends have, hopefully build their real estate wealth, like everyone's going to be set off. And that's like my really main goal. So to sit here and listen to you, 50, buyers, most of them are buyers or right. Most of them are,
I have like 3 or 4 listings, but
right. There's always going to be listings, right? Like no matter what, like when you're working with buyers, people end up loving you and they end up recommending or whatever. So there's always going to end up listings, but like your 20% is focusing on the webinars to focus on the buyers, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm going at is like, everyone focuses so much on trying to get listings. And then I guess very few people actually like focus like you are doing, like specifically on getting the buyers, and doing all your numbers with the buyer's side. And look at you, like it's. I feel like it's a part that really a lot of people forget because we're taught so much to concentrate on the listings.
I think people tend to think that you spend so much time with buyers, which can be true if you don't have the systems in place, if you're not having the right conversations, if you don't have the leverage. Like, you can invest a ton of time working with one person. But I have been fortunate that I've put the right leverage in place that on average, I maybe spend 3 to 4 hours of work with each client. So, just built a system around it essentially. And some of it, obviously I didn't have a sphere of influence when I moved here. So part of it was like, what's going to be the easier business to get? But I really do enjoy it too, because like you were saying, like when it's kind of your age demographic, it's just fun. It's like, they're your peers. You build a relationship. Sometimes they end up becoming your friends, which is awesome. But there's strategy there as well, because like Gary Keller says that 79% of buyers will work with the first agent that they meet. So I've been intentional about inserting myself at the very beginning of their buying process in their whole lifetime. So not only at the very beginning of that particular purchase, but the very beginning of their real estate journey. So in 5 to 7 years, they're going to be sellers and I'm going to help them sell and then help them buy as long as I continue to nurture that relationship.
That is amazing. So tell us, let's get into like more of these webinars and more into the buyer web presentations that you do. What are some mistakes that you've done in the beginning that you can tell agents, hey, you know what, I've done this mistake, so what are some things you could think about?
Well, the first few events I did with one lender who just very smart guy, not a great speaker. Like he could talk, but he got way too into the weeds and the details of things. And so you have to understand, like, it's great to be competent in your job, but you have to be able to translate that in kind of layman's terms to somebody that's hearing this for the first time. So it's really important to pick a lender partner that, 1, is a dynamic speaker, but 2, is going to be able to kind of bring things down to a more like elementary level that people can grasp, because when you get kind of too technical with things, you're going to lose people's attention.
Oh, big time.
The other part I would say is we did a PowerPoint for the first few events.
Okay.
And it actually happened, I guess, like a happy accident. So we had a PowerPoint and then we were like, well, we should also give them some type of workbook. And then we got to the brewery for one of the first events and their projector wasn't working. So we couldn't do the PowerPoint at all. And we just had to go off the workbook. But it ended up being great because like, I know personally, if I'm watching a PowerPoint, I tend to just mentally check out. But if I'm like following along something where I have to like fill in the blank or like write my notes, I'm going to stay a lot more engaged. So we ended up creating a workbook where they're taking all their notes. We've got areas that they have to fill in, but it's not all pre-filled. And so the cool thing about that is that if somebody isn't a buyer today, when they are a buyer, maybe a year or two down the road, they're going to go back and look at their notes, and my contact info and all my branding is all over that booklet.
Love that. I love that. I love that. So what was the mistake there? Having the projector. or make sure the damn projectors are on before you get there. Call the brewery.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So pretty much, I mean, really there's not too much mistakes, because at the end of the day, you're giving value, you're providing information, right, to people. But of course, whoever you're going to bring into the webinar or to the presentation, make sure that they can be simple with the way they talk, right? Especially in the landing part, like the title company, maybe, I'm not sure. We'll get into that right now, but like the landing, I know some lenders will get super into detail, and even some realtors get confused, right? Because when you start going into different, I don't know, maybe like they start talking about different programs out there, and if you have this and this, it's like people could just get really confused. So 100%, that makes so much sense. So how do you choose? Let's say you're already working with the lender. Like how did you choose? Okay, this lender right here is going to be the perfect one for this webinar, for the buyer. Like how did you come about that?
It was more by luck than anything. So I met this lender through a friend of mine who's an agent, and she was like, hey, you got to meet this lender. He's like young, hungry, like relatively new in the business. And we, like, group of us got together for a day and like went out to lunch and stuff. And I was like, oh, like he is pretty cool. Like, okay. And I wasn't really doing any business. And then he sent me a buyer, and he was like, I really want to work with you. Like, here's this buyer that I have who needs an agent. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, he knocked it out of the park for that transaction. And so I approached him about partnering on these buyer seminars, and he was like, yeah, sure, like let's do it. And I had talked to a couple other lenders before, and they were all kind of like, yeah, maybe, like, and I can see from a standpoint of a lender, like if you're going to spend an hour and a half to 2 hours but not really get any business out of it, like it's tough, right? So he was, I guess, like didn't know any better, so he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it, I'm game. And the first event that we did, we had like 30 people show up. And so we got a couple clients out of it, and it just was the beginning of a great partnership. Like he is
so awesome. Love it.
Yeah, he is like a true partner in business for me now. So I would say he definitely gets by far the most loans. Like obviously I have other recommendations that I'll give buyers, but we end up doing the most amount of business together.
That is awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. So yeah, so pretty much, speak to a few, see who you feel the most connection with at the end of the day, right? I guess it was more about the connection. Hey, I feel like this guy is perfect for it.
And it's a partnership too. Like you want to find somebody that like is willing to invest in doing it with you long term. Like he's the only person I do the events with. Like I don't do it with any other lenders. We share the cost of it. I know that when I send him a buyer, like he's going to be on top of getting them followed up, because I have gotten to the point in my business that I have so much in my pipeline. I have so many clients. Like I have over 40 active buyers at any point in time. And wow. I don't have time to like meet with people that have not started the pre-approval process, because I've been burned enough times, like meeting with people and then find out that their credit is terrible or they make no money or whatever. And so I will send everybody to him first before I will sit down for a buyer consultation. And part of that for me too, like I'm sure that maybe I'm missing out on a certain percentage of business from that, but I really don't care, because I only want to work with the most motivated. And if someone is willing to meet with my lender and like take that step, then I know they're serious about the process. So with him, like I can send someone to him and I know, like I don't have to follow up. I know he's doing his job. Like he just does a great job at it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Perfect. I love that. So let me ask you a question. So I understand right now, not even right now, but when you were doing the presentations at the brewery and before, you were getting these potential buyers and clients from Facebook ads. Is that right?
No, so the Facebook ads drive the attendance to the Eventbrite page. So I've never really done just Facebook ads as a lead gen source, because when we were doing like pay-per-click leads, that's a little bit different. So that was through like Commissions Inc. But I decided at a certain point that if I was going to be in this career for a long haul, I was going to have to make it really enjoyable for myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the kind of person that wants to be like attached to their phone every second, waiting for a new lead to come in and have to like follow up them right away. And so I kind of like designed it in a way that like the Facebook ads will run and they'll send people to an Eventbrite page to sign up for the event. But then after the event, the follow-up is really kind of like at my own, I hate to say leisure, because you have to do it within a certain period of time after the event, but everything is kind of time blocked in my calendar. It's not random lead comes in here and I have to rush to call them right away.
So you pretty much have the whole system from the beginning. When people click on that ad, they take them to the event, right? They sign up, you follow up with them. Tell me a little bit about that. Like for agents that want to start doing this, right? They're like, you know what? I want to start doing this. What exactly should they be doing in this process? So do you always first start with the Facebook ads and then take them to the Eventbrite page?
Yep. So it's a Facebook ad. You don't want to do a boost or anything like that. And if you're a KW agent, you can do it through Command. I know people that have done it successfully through Command. So it's a Facebook ad and I drive the traffic to Eventbrite. On Eventbrite, it has all the information about the event. It's got testimonials from my past clients. And we also do like an option for them to donate to a local animal shelter as well, which is cool because then I know who's really serious, like who's going to pay. And I've always been surprised at the amount of people that will pay $5 when there's a free option. So that's pretty cool. And it's giving back to the community as well. And then a day before the event, I'll download all the registrations and I just reach out to everybody, confirm their attendance, and then we send out a link to the Zoom.
Cool. So from the time that they go to the Eventbrite and they subscribe, there's pretty much no follow-up, or does the Eventbrite do some type of follow-up? Hey, it's coming up or something like that. Do you know? Yeah,
we have a couple of automated emails through Eventbrite, and then it's also, I've connected it to Command where someone will come into Command, we put them a specific tag on it, and then we start them on a smart plan before the event. And it's pretty much just a text that's like, hey, thank you for registering. And it's also got a video, and it's just me selfie style shooting video. Hey, I just wanted to reach out, put a face to the name. We're so excited that you're going to be on our next event. Please reach out if you have any other questions in the meantime. And then it's just a second text with a link to my app.
Love it. And then you, a day before the webinar or the event, you reach out to them one more time. Then you do the webinar. So when you do it in the webinar, is it just you and the lender, or is there someone else?
Yeah, it's just me and the lender. So occasionally my attorney will pop in here or there. We're an attorney state in Massachusetts. We don't have like title companies.
Right.
I know people that have done home inspectors and attorneys and every single person in the transaction. And honestly, I don't think buyers care. Right. They do not really care about all these different things. Okay. They care about what can I afford? How do I get a mortgage / pre-approved? And what is the actual process to get started?
Love it. It's true. You just want to know, hey, how much money do I need? Can I qualify? What I got to do? I just want to buy a house, right? They don't really care.
Yeah, exactly.
About the rest.
You don't need to box them down with all of the nuances because they're going to forget most of it anyways. They forget half the stuff that we talk about during the event, but that's okay because it's not about them remembering every single detail. It's about me positioning myself as leading with value, the person of authority, educating them on the process and building that relationship.
Absolutely. Love it. So when you finish the webinar, your call to action is, hey, if you want to learn more, if you want to know more, if you want to get pre-qualified, something like that, so, to try to see which ones are the ones that are serious right now or the ones that are not.
So what we talk about during the presentation is we're setting an expectation that anybody that's within 12 months of making a purchase, we just say, okay, so the next step is we set up an appointment, so essentially the consultation. So we set up a time to talk about what you're looking for. And we aren't setting appointments on the spot. So we're just saying, okay, like we're going to hang on at the end if you have any particular questions specific to your situation. Otherwise, we're going to be in touch with everybody by tomorrow. And we leave I've intentionally left a couple of documents out. So I'll send like part of the booklet, but then there's like a couple handouts that go with it. And so we intentionally send those as like follow-up materials. So when we're going through the presentation, we're like, oh, you guys haven't seen this ahead of time. We will make sure you get you a copy of it. And so then we're sending a follow-up afterwards and setting appointments from there.
Love it. Amazing. Perfect. That's awesome. So, all right. So any other tips you want to give to agents that want to get started with, doing webinars and kind of doing, working with more buyers and doing the consultations? Is there anything else that you want to share?
Yeah. Oh my God, I have a million tips. One, I would say, honestly, if you want to do it, just get started. Like the amount of messages I get from people, it blows my mind, like that people think they need to have every single detail figured out. Like just do something.
Just do it.
It's not going to be perfect the first time. Just get started and refine the process as you go. Like what my event looks like today is not what it looked like in 2018. Like it's evolved over time. And what has worked for me isn't going to necessarily be the perfect system for someone else. Just like, I think people get really bogged down in the details, and I have people say, what's the perfect time of day? What's the perfect day of the week? How do I do this? How do I do that? Like, I don't think there is a perfect one. The only reason we decided to do Sundays from 11:30 to 1 was because it was the cheapest time we could get with the brewery. Like, it was a pure financial decision.
Right.
We, like, in a new market, not having a ton of money to invest in this, I'm like, I'll take the cheapest time. And we just kept it. And so I'm sure there's like other times of the week that are even better, but it's worked for me. So yeah, just like get started and track your numbers too, because it's easy to think, okay, great, like 30 people showed up, but if you aren't converting any of them, then what's the point? Or on the flip side, it's easy to get discouraged if you only have a handful of people. But honestly, I would rather have an event where 4 people show up, but every single one of them becomes my client, over 30 that none of them become my client.
I agree. So it's not even a matter of how much people showed up. It's a matter of how much people you actually captured.
Yeah.
How much people you build there.
Exactly. What's your conversion rate?
Love it.
Yeah. And I would say to anybody that really like wants to work with buyers at a high level, get some systems down. Like I have yet to see somebody that has a more systematized and thorough buyer consultation than I do. And my video is kind of floating around the web everywhere. And I know people that just their buyer consultation is like a quick 30-minute phone call of like, here's this, here's that, like how many bedrooms, bathrooms do you want? Ours is like very thorough. We walk them through agency. We talk about the benefits of working through with a team. And that has set me up for all the different pieces of leverage that I've added in, because it's not weird or a surprise when suddenly my showing assistant is showing them properties or she's attending the inspection. Like they are expecting that as part of the process. And then it's not awkward when the TC is getting involved and handling everything during the transaction, because that has been presented to the client as a value of working with our team.
That is amazing. So just to piggyback off that, so let me ask you, so you're 50 homes this year, right? That's a lot of homes for, single agent. I know you have a team. So do you pretty much do the webinar as of right now since COVID? Are you doing the webinars? You're, kind of connecting with these people, answering any questions. Once they're ready, you send them off to the lender. They're approved. Then you send them, you do the consultation. You send them a list. They choose the homes, the properties they want to see. You send your showing agent, right? Then you still speak to them if they want to make an offer or not. You make an offer, then your TC does. So pretty much you could do everything and like not even step out of your office.
Yeah, that you pretty much just hit the nail on the head. I mean, obviously I'm like introducing people and getting them involved, but yeah, I have sold a bunch of houses this year now that I haven't even ever met the client face to face, and I've never been in the property once. Like pretty much spend most of the day at my house in front of the computer now because of COVID. Before, I was like actually doing buyer consultations at my office, but I'm never going back to that because it's like, one, why would I bother? And two, like if somebody no-shows on me, it's so much better than having to come into my office.
Oh my God.
For someone, they don't show up. Now I have to drive home. Like, cool, I can just like walk away from my computer.
I want to be just like you. All right, Kimberlee. So before we finish up, we're going to go to some fun questions to finish this off fun. Let's see. If you had to choose between superpowers, would you choose to be invincible or to fly?
I think the high D in me is going to say fly. Because then I can just like get places quicker.
but you're making all the money from your office. You don't gotta go nowhere.
Oh no, I want to like go see a friend or something.
or I guess you could take your laptop and fly all over the world and just do the consultations.
Exactly, I could fly to like some awesome Caribbean island and just work from there.
Oh man, I love that. I love it. So let's see. What's the best place you've ever been to?
Ooh, the best place I've ever been to. That's a tough one. I don't know that this is necessarily like the best, but I would say the most memorable trip I've ever had was I went to Paris in 2018 and I went solo. It was my first international solo trip and it was just a phenomenal experience. I'm so excited to be able to travel again whenever that happens.
That is awesome. I've traveled alone many, many times, and I feel like people that travel alone have like this special angel that like covers them. Because I promise you, like I'm Argentinian. Argentinians travel a lot. It's like a culture that travels like crazy. So I've met so much people, young, older, whatever, that travel by themselves, and I've never heard of anyone complain or something happened. Like everyone's just like, oh my God, it was the best ever, you know? So when people travel alone, it's like,
it was so great. Like I could nap whenever I wanted. I could do whatever I wanted. It was awesome. Like, okay, I'm tired of doing this. I'm going to go do something else.
Last question. Oh, this is a good one for you, Kimberlee. What were you like in high school?
What was I like in high school? Oh boy. Okay, so I actually had a very interesting high school experience. So when I was younger, I used to ride horses very, very competitively. So I competed at like the world championships and nationals. I was 8th in the nation in my entire division.
Wow.
And because of that, I like got to leave school a lot because I was a really good student, but I just had an agreement with my school that I could leave and go train because where I trained was like 2 hours away. So I wasn't like, I was kind of part-time. I was kind of like nerdy and like got made fun of and stuff, but whatever.
Ride horses. I love horses. That is amazing. Was it like jumping or just racing or what kind of riding?
It's like English saddle seat. So American saddlebreds, no one has ever heard of them, but yeah, I love it. Actually, that's been the cool thing. This year I bought a horse, which is not cheap. And I hadn't ridden in like 11 years. So it's been wonderful, like getting back into that passion of mine.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad to hear. I mean, you super deserve it. I mean, you're amazing. What you're doing is great. And at the end of the day, you're helping tons of people, like you said in the beginning. Like I said, a lot of people that are, renting, they're scared to buy because they just don't know. They just don't have the knowledge. And there you are sharing the knowledge, helping these people, stop paying rent, pretty much building their wealth. So come on, what's better than that?
Yeah, it's super rewarding.
So Kimberlee, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you. A lot of valuable information for those agents that want to start doing webinars and start working with buyers. So again, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you everyone tuning in. See you guys next week. Bye, Kimberlee.
Bye. Thank you.